This is my little test ride and it's working great. I'm super happy. Now those of you who've been on my channel for a while will know that I've had just about every type of luggage set up on this DR that you can imagine. I've sort of tried it all by this stage. And today we're going to be making a budget set of Pannier racks, a new set for the bike to suit my latest set of bags. So if you're in the market and you don't quite like the prices of the professionally made ones, which I will say are going to be way better than the ones I make, but this is the $50 budget Pannier rack. Now as for materials on this thing, it's pretty simple. I've got some 20 by 5mm flat bar that's going to be nice and strong, make up the main supports for the Pannier racks. Got some 10mm thick, just round bar. You can get this in 12mm, which would probably be stronger, but it's harder to bend. Seeing I'm bending it by hand, 10mm works perfectly for me. And just for a little bit of extra, I've got some 6.5mm solid bar that I use to make the handles for the straps. I've got way too much of this stuff that I really don't need, but it was the only length I could get in non-gal. So if you're buying this stuff, make sure it's non-gal. But all up for 2 meter flat was, I think, $15, $14. The 2 meter round is about the same price, and this is about 10 bucks. So under 50 bucks. That's all the parts we're going to need to make this, other than a few bolts and that we've got lying around. For tools, trusty angle grinder. If you don't have an angle grinder, you can do it with a hacksaw. Drill with a fresh 10mm drill bit, because I blunt all my bits and never take care of them, so I had to buy a new one. And there's going to be a bit of stick welding involved, because this is nice thick steel. Stick welding is pretty well perfect. Of course, if you've got a MIG would be way better, but you probably wouldn't be watching my videos for how-tos. So let's get to measuring and cutting. First step is to measure everything up and go through the cut lines, so that makes it nice and easy to get all my parts together at once and not annoy the neighbours too much. So now I've got, oh that's hot, now I've got all the parts nice and cut up and ready for assembly. It's time to bend up some tube now, or bend up some pipe. Now to do this, I've been experimenting a bit. What I'm using is my vise and just an extra bit of bar that I can use to get some leverage on it. Feeding in the vise and doing the bends. Doesn't make the cleanest bends, but ideally there's a bag strapped to it, you can't even see what's underneath. It's the same reason I'm putting up with my boogery welds that are going to be all over this thing. Plus I've got plenty of batteries and plenty of discs to the grinder, so we'll get it to work. Look straight to you guys. Now let's talk about design here for a second. Now you'll notice that this obviously bent up and it doesn't look like I cut it at the right angles, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm making them to the bags that I've got. So this is roughly 25mm, it needs to be roughly 30 high, or I think it's actually closer to like 28 high, but it's far easier to mock it up against the bag than it is. So I've actually gone ahead and cheated and I've got one prototype that I've already made. It looks pretty rough, but it's the perfect thing to base everything off. Proves that it's strong enough and that it works. But basically what we're going for, spin this around, is that way. The U shape, then welded straight to the flat bar that sits in between the two. Stirrups come off and go straight to where the rear luggage racks mount on the bike, and a front support mount that goes down to the foot peg mount. So obviously there's probably more improvements I could make to this. This is about the third or fourth design I've had on this bike. These seem pretty well solid. My previous ones I had were a bit beefy and overdone. I made them out of angle line, and they, well, I mean, I dropped the bike on them twice and they didn't bend or anything, which was a bonus, which is also why I'm going with the extra support to the front. These would be way easier to make. If you just went straight off the front, you could probably just come straight out and bend a piece of steel at a 90 and call it a day, and make it a loop if you want to be fancy. But what I found is they just have a bit too much movement at the bottom. So that's the goal here. This is those 6.5mm bits that I cut up. No, I didn't cut them up yet. Anyway, those 6.5mm bits, pretty simply, I just use them because that's where my straps go through on my bag, secured at the bottom. The top strap goes over the center, which is why there's nothing in the middle. And yeah, that's it. So let's montage it. We're going to make this into this simply by trimming these out, and then we'll weld the next two pieces in and go from there. Alright. Oh, it is warm now. So, while I wait, I'm not going to touch that because all of that is hot. While we wait for the main part of the pannier, the hoop, to cool off, I'm going to go ahead and make the little stirrups. Stirrups? That's not what they're called, surely. But these little holders that my straps will go through on the bottom of it. Stupidly, like, I've got 2 meters of this bar, and I needed, I don't know, 12 inches if that. All I'm doing is just getting these, dropping them in the vise, we'll bend them down, and Bob's your mother's brother will be ready to weld these on too. And that is 2 hoops on. So, next up, I've got to start working on the bike mounts. So I've got my little tabs that are already cut out at the 5mm. I'll drill some 10mm holes in each of those for the bolts to go through. And this one's for the lower mount, so I'll drill that out as well. And then we'll cut some straight bar to hang it off the side of the bike, try and match the width of the other side, because the other side's got the exhaust to worry about, and I don't like lopsided looking bikes. And yeah, then we'll keep moving on. So drill, cutty, and then some more zappy, and we'll be done. The holes are drilled, those pieces are nice and hot. Probably cooked another drill bit, I should really get around to being better at that. But now we are going to make the side portions, or the side leg stirrups, whatever you want to call them. I've measured off my prototype one, so I'm going to cut that. Then I'll find some more scrap steel and cut a second one. We'll weld them to the bolt holes, bolt them to the bike and line up where this needs to go. And then should be gravy good to go. Alright, let's do it. Alrighty, and that's the supports officially on. It's very hot right now, but they're all done without looking too closely. It all lines up to go straight on the bike. So, what does that leave to do? The front connect, and then just grinding and painting. A lot of grinding and painting. Alright, so I'm going to let that cool. I'm going to go do some other things. And we might come back a bit later this afternoon and we will finish rigging it all back together. So I jumped ahead a little bit. I didn't go and rest. Instead, I went ahead and zapped on the last piece of this. So that is now one complete pannier rack. Look, this video wasn't much of a step-by-step instructional, mainly because the point was just to inspire you to give it a go yourself. All you really got to do is just bend some steel. Vice works well. Pick a design you like. Like I said, this is like my 4th or 5th design that's gone onto this bike. But I'm going to go ahead and bolt it all up. Won't show you that, that's kind of boring. Actually, I'm going to let it cool down, then I'm going to paint it, then I'm going to bolt it up. and I'll show you guys what the finished product looks like. Let's go. So this here is the finished product. I am actually really happy with how it came out. So a little bit of rattle can black on it, metal guard, and it came up really nice. So like I said, what it looks like underneath, once the bags are on, you don't really see it. So it doesn't make the biggest difference in the world. But overall, I am stoked. Got to give a big shout out to a mate of mine, Aaron. First Class Auto Trimming, I think it is. I'll put a link down below. But he made up those bags for me, which they're perfect. They hold all my day gear. Means I've got the backpack, the back rack, all good for whatever adventure I might have. For those who have been playing along for a while, you'll notice the front of the bike's a bit bare. I ditched my big windscreen. It was, look, with the new tyres on, the Motos, the windscreen and all the weight I had on the front, the phone mount and everything, it was just getting a lot of speed wobbles above 100 Ks. So drop that off. This is my little test ride and it's working great. I'm super happy. So that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, be sure to, do the thumbs uppy thing. If you got a rack set up for yourself, drop a comment below. Let me know sort of what you made yours out of. Maybe I'll make a version 4. I've lost track of what I'm up to with making these. But that's a video. I'll see you in the next one. One last little side note before the internet gets mad at me. I've actually gone through and ground down all these corners so they're nice and round, which means that if my leg catches it, it won't do me any damage. And also I fitted my water bottle holders. So these water bottle goes in there and that sits in between my leg and that should the worst happen. So no need to stress there.